Have you ever felt like there was something from your childhood you couldn't quite remember? A show that you couldn't place your finger on? A reason that Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared felt so familiar? Well, let me reintroduce you to Welcome Home. Welcome Home is an in-development alternate reality game centered around the show with the same name, Welcome Home. This show was created on October 11th, 1969, which was chosen because it's National Coming Out Day. In this alternate reality, Welcome Home was created by a man named Ronald Dorlane, and it was produced by a company called Playfellow Workshop. This was the only show that Playfellow was producing, but it didn't seem to matter because of how popular this show was. It is said that it dominated its Saturday morning time slot with its colorful cast of puppets, entertaining and addictive stories, and lively sets unlike anything seen before. This setting for this show was a colorful and exaggerated design town named Home. This show, unfortunately, didn't remain at the top forever. In 1974, this show was abruptly pulled from television and Playfellow went completely silent. Its 4-year run ended with all its footage being presumably lost, including its merchandise, advertisements, vinyl records, and illustrated books. Luckily for us, a group of people that call themselves the WHRP for the Welcome Home Restoration Project are dedicated to restoring this show for all to rediscover. They suspiciously decide to stay anonymous, but they have still given much information on their journey in this project. They never expected to be restoring this old show, as they accidentally discovered the brightly colored envelopes that contained many documents of this lost media. They find destroyed, vandalized, or lost pieces of media and fully restore them to their original forms. The WHRP have created a website hosted by Clown, the real creator of this ARG universe, where they put all of the Welcome Home related material that they can obtain. In a show that seems to have been wiped from everyone's memory, it's hard to figure anything out about it. One thing is for sure though, this show is not simply a children's puppet show. If Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared taught us anything, it's that friendly-faced puppets hide dark secrets. I mean, come on, look at this face. But why does this character, Wally, seem to be the main source of everything wrong in this show? What did he do? When going to the neighborhood page in the website, you can see a description of every character in this town. They're seemingly fairly normal, talking about where these characters came from and what their roles are on the show. Wally is the only character without an origin. It is safe to assume that he has always lived in Home, which is also the name of his living house. It isn't very normal to have a town named the same as a house, but based on Wally being the original member of this town, it would seem that the town could possibly be named after his own home. But why would this be the case? Well, for one, if Wally is the only member of this town, then he can theoretically name it whatever he wants, but it also seems like this is the only town in the entire vicinity. When we look closely at the origin of every character in the neighborhood, nobody is from anywhere else. Julie came from a cave in the forest around Home, Frank's origins are unknown, Barnaby came from an unknown farm, Howdy originated from an apple core in a tree, Sally came from an unknown point in space, and Poppy lived in a tree within the forest. What really drives this home is Eddie. He was said to have come from a distant town in order to establish a post office here in Home, but Eddie has never stated the correct name of where he is from. It is said that the running joke had him stating a place that did not exist, followed by an admission to misremembering it as a place he delivered to as opposed to a place he lived. To reinforce all of this, if you decide to take the investigation of this website to the next level, you may try to find a hidden page by typing a random string of characters into the address bar. This will most likely not work out, but you will stumble upon an interesting custom 404 error page. A slightly ominous message is displayed telling you that you have wandered too far from home and that you should head back. While this could always be just a warning from a concerned overseer or a witty web developer, the word choices would suggest otherwise. The fact that this message tells you that you have wandered too far from home instead of a website suggests that this may be a message from more than just this website. What if outside of home is not to be seen? It would provide some explanation for why Eddie only ever gives fake location names when addressing the other areas outside of home. Well, oh boy, is this just the beginning of this weird and wacky website. Throughout the paragraphs and written text are strange graphical and orientational errors. Some letters are askew or even in front of the previous one. The Y in your, the O in about, and the W in Wally are but a few of the 6 strange errors. These were even addressed by the website's author in an update post where they told everyone to just ignore them. And if you're a weirdo like us, you may have attempted to highlight the words on the website to try to reveal any hidden text, and funnily enough, it works. Perusing over the FAQ section of the About Us page will reveal some hidden words within the answers. Sometimes it's something as simple as, but it hurts, or does it hurt? But there are also full sentences, such as, the numbers are so hard to read, sometimes I can't see them. But by far, the biggest secret sentence isn't even secret. In the "Why did you make this website?" question, you can see an alternative answer right under the main one, reading, when I unwrapped the first letter, I felt it. Open, open, open. I want it out. I'm going to get it out. While the website itself has some strange qualities, there is a track record to them. They all seem to revolve around the old lost show itself, led by our main character, Wally Darling. Wally is the face of Welcome Home. He is the most prominent character of the show, being the focus of every episode, the literal center of the town, and on a significant majority of the merchandise. Wally is without a doubt the main character of this show. When looking at the character pages, Wally's is the only page that is slightly different. At the bottom of every character's description, there is a colorful button to go back, but on Wally's, it's black text saying goodbye. Our good old pal Wally is a very special character, but it doesn't end with his exit button. A special thing with this website is its creative guest book page. Here you can not only sign the guest book and write a comment, but you can view the entire guest book as well. This book contains messages from many users, some even including fun drawings from an unknown source. However, accessing the last page of notes is a different story. Highlighting blank areas will reveal hidden messages from Wally, one stating, "You won't write back," and the other stating, "You're looking for me. Silly, silly." On the same concept of being very different characters than the rest, Wally is the only one who constantly addresses the audience. In his description, it is stated that Wally and the viewer often learn new things together. On top of this, Wally is consistently looking directly at the viewer. There are many instances in images and drawings of Wally where he will be staring directly at the audience. Unfortunately, staring isn't the only thing Wally can do with those eyes. In April of 2022, Clown received a picture of a snack a fan prepared for Wally, so they drew a short animation of Wally eating it. The biggest thing to note here is that Wally ate this meal by just looking at it. In the comments of the post, Clown mentioned that this is Wally's method of eating. With the frequency that Wally stares directly at the viewer and addresses the audience, the implications here are absolutely terrifying. We can combine all these topics into one moment if we head over to the links section of the website. The third file down on the left-hand side is a slideshow of every different character followed by the Welcome Home logo. Every character gets an equal amount of time and they all look in a different direction, except for good old Wally. He gets 4 times the exposure than any other character, even the logo of the show. And, of course, in normal Wally fashion, he is staring directly at the viewer. If you end up finding one of the many secret pages in this website, you will stumble across a spooky variant of this slideshow, where Wally is singled out even more, with every other character's time slots shortening and Wally's lengthening, until the third round where we get an extreme close-up of those beautiful eyes. As you can tell, things get real creepy real quick. Luckily for horror fans, this show takes a real DHMIS style turn if you dive deep enough. If you zoom out far enough in the neighborhood or remove home, you will reveal a deep spiral hole. Clicking in just the right area will bring you to a secret page showing some quite horrific imagery. A red pencil drawing of Wally kneeling in front of one of Home's bloody, gyrating eyes. A very important thing to distinguish here is that Wally isn't the one who's bloody, it's Home. Apparent in all of these above-mentioned ideas, Wally being special and presented differently, his messages in the guest book, his obsession with the viewer, his special screen time, and his power over home all show us one very important point. Wally is the one in control. While it's seemingly an obvious speculation by looking at similarly structured shows, we now have hard evidence that he is the one with power. But once again, this doesn't tell us much. We know he's in power, but what does this mean? What can he do? What is wrong with this show? The best way to figure this out is by capturing Wally's motivation. The problem with figuring out Wally's purpose is that we don't know his problems. It's very easy to figure out someone's motivation if we know what they are lacking, but there is so little of the show to go off of. Luckily, the website secrets have our back. When looking through the neighborhood page, there is one final secret. In the above paragraph, there is a clickable link on the word your. This will take us to one final character description, and this character is you. It tells us that Wally is our best friend. A strange description for us if Wally's best friend is supposed to be Barnaby, but it starts to make sense when we consider the amount of time he spends with the audience. It would seem that Wally is lonely, but how could this possibly be the case in a neighborhood of friends? This entire show is based around a small town of very close friends, but the character descriptions themselves are slightly unsettling. It's such a slight change that it's hard to really catch. In every single one of these character descriptions, it refers to them in the past tense. Julie was a rainbow monster. Sally was often focused. Poppy was rarely seen outside of her barn. Eddie was a mail carrier. Howdy would often exchange goods for funny jokes. Barnaby was the resident jokester. And finally, Frank was often depicted with a book or a butterfly net. As you've probably noticed, there is one character still left out. Wally is the most prominent character in Welcome Home. Not Wally was, Wally is. While we could take this and say this is all the proof we need, that's kind of lame. Let's turn to the guest book. As we mentioned before, this is where fans can write to the characters, and sometimes there will be a drawing from seemingly either the creators or a character. If you were to inspect these images, you can see that they are all named in very strange ways. The names of these drawings are in responses to the comment, and luckily for us, we know exactly who is responding to these comments. Turning over to a signature by someone named Wally, they were very excited that they and the puppet had the same name, and the response was, "Our name." Clearly, Wally responded to at least this one comment. If we turn to a message from Charlie saying that Wally is my favorite, the response is, "I am your favorite too. I'm very happy." Once again, clearly from Wally. Again and again and again, Wally-centered messages are responded to by Wally, but not just his. Even messages where someone mentions another character, like Eddie, the response is, "I told him. He said he's flattered. I don't know what anyone is talking about." In every single one of these messages, the only response that is ever given is from Wally. No other character has drawn on this guest book. On top of that, if you travel to the bottom of the guest book, you can see a signature from every single character in Welcome Home. Right next to Julie's name, a game of tic-tac-toe was played. The color of the pencils clearly show us that this was Julie versus Wally, and Julie won. If we head over to page 4 of the guest book, we can see another tic-tac-toe game that was played, drawn over 2 of the messages. This game has only circles, which was Wally's shape in the previous game. Once again, we get it shoved in our face that Wally is the only person here. Of course Wally is lonely. He's the only character around. Either he's the only one who still exists, or he's the only one who is alive. Either way, his motivation is very clear. Loneliness. Sadly, we have to stop here. There is so much to unpack in this show that it has to be a 2-part series. Luckily for us, this is nowhere close to the end of our answers. In the next episode, we will figure out exactly what this show is and who caused it to get cancelled in the first place. So make sure you subscribe and click that bell icon to get notified when that video is uploaded. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing, as it is the best way for you to support this channel. Let me know what you think of this series so far in the comments below. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.